Hey there, Skeleton Key here. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. And if you're watching this on replay, welcome. And feel free to hop into the comments and let me know what you're thinking about everything. And yeah, this week has been a hell of a decade. But we're not here to talk about this week. Don't want to think about this week or last week. We are here to talk about week 2 of 2025, which for me is the week of Monday, the 6th of January. And that I finished 3 books in that second week of January. And so, let's just hop right into it. Okay, so here we have The Empress of Salt and Fortune. And this was actually a reread for me several years ago. Let's see, this came out in March of 2020. I think maybe around 21 or 22, somewhere in there. I listened to the audiobook, but I think I had the speed too fast. And at the end of it, I was like, well, I enjoyed this. But oh, hi, Combat. Good to see you here. That veteran. And welcome. But this was, yeah, I, it's like I got the gist of the story, but it didn't really gel for me. So later, I ended up with a free download of the ebook from Tor. Tor.com. They used to have a free monthly what was it? Every month they would send out a free audiobook in their newsletter, a link to a free not audiobook, ebook in their newsletter. And that would and it was usually science fiction or fantasy. So and it was usually something I didn't have, and I did not own a copy of this. But so I read the text of it this month, and yeah, I'm glad I did. I feel like I got a lot more out of it. You're following a uh, a a monk, I guess. And this, I would advise not reading. Yeah, let's not look um, at the blurb because I think it spoils some things. And yeah, and I don't want to spoil things, so I'm trying to figure out what to say. But anyway, it's for the series is the Singing Hills series, and so Chi or Chi, I can't remember how it was pronounced in the audiobook, but is traveling and stops at this place that is actually not supposed to be accessible. And it's very magical very quickly. And this elderly woman greets them uh, and offers them a place to stay on their journey, and starts telling them stories. And do you know what that means? And it ends each story or chapter with, and so do you know what that means? And she's like, I kind of think I know. kind of think I know what that means, but I don't know. I need to hear some more. And so it continues on this story of Rabbit, who is a servant to the Empress at that time, um, and has retired to this hidden place. And that's all I'm really gonna say. It's a very interesting story, and, you'll probably anticipate some things, um but yeah, it's well worth picking up. Um, and if you listen to it on audiobook, do some playing around with the settings to make sure that you've got, and sometimes, the narrator just doesn't do it for you, um, see if you can find a setting or a a collection of settings that make it to where you can really kind of immerse yourself in the story. I think that really helps. And let's see. Oh, and Combat Veteran. I'm starting to read Unbroken Life by Janine Green. I'm not familiar with that one. Hope it's going well for you. And let's see. So then, let's see. And the second of the third books is The Big Sort: Why the Clustering of Like-Minded America is Tearing Us Apart. And let's see. This one came out in 2008. So it's really interesting to read this from our perspective in 2025. Um, it because okay, so May 7th, 2008. I don't believe Obama was the presumptive nominee yet. So I think it was still Obama and Clinton, and so there was so much that happened between May of 2008 and now. And anyway, the Bill Bishop basically looks at the tendency of Americans, especially in recent years, to kind of sort ourselves into little groups of affinity groups, basically, or, you know, birds of a feather flock together, that sort of thing. And we've done it very, very well. And I mean, I love my filter bubble. I really, really love my filter bubble. Um, it's just, yeah. I can't say that I really agree with everything that Bill Bishop says in here, because I think, and maybe it's just having the perspective that I have from 2025 and having lived through these last 17 years, that it's for your mental health, for your sanity, you have to surround yourself with people who are supportive and aren't trying to kill you. um, but part of his point way back when was that this political or division culturally, just sorting ourselves out culturally, politically, and with such fine granularity in some cases, most cases, I guess, anymore, is that it lends itself to polarization every time the sort goes through. Every time we sort, we get a little more extreme. And yeah, I think he's right to some extent. That's how we've got where we are now. And it's kind of sad and scary. And I don't know what we can do about it. But I read this for a book club that has not happened yet. So I'm interested to see what other insights we have from the other people in that book club. And that's a local in-person book club. And yeah, I think I'll switch to the children's picture book now. But first, let's see. So, okay, Unbroken Life by Janine Green. She is a new author. She's working on her second book right now. And also another good book is Even Tough Women Can Crack Like Eggs Sometimes by Diane Marasco. I have seen that. Yeah, because I looked up Diane Marasco the other day. And I was not familiar with her work. So yeah, I'll have to check some of that out. I'm not allowing myself to buy any books in January, so I have to wait till February. But I do appreciate the recommendation. And let's see. So, picture book, children's picture book. Okay, and some of you may remember that I listened to The Chupacabra Ate the Candelabra last year, I think in the fall sometime. Or I needed a cryptid book. So this is my cryptid book because it's got a chupacabra. But, I listened to it and it didn't have any pictures or anything like that. And it was kind of meh. But I was like, and I couldn't get the picture book from the library. It had a huge long waiting list. I guess everyone needed a cryptid book. And but I was interested to see what the picture book looked like, if it changed the experience. And while this art style is not really, my favorite, okay, now I've just completely disappeared. Oh, there we go. It's it does, I think, fit the vibe of the book really well. And it changes the pacing. So instead of like reading straight through, like, the narration did, so like here, it's got some text, but then, you've got a bunch of stuff to look at. And I presume if you're reading this aloud to a child, you're pointing out things and going, oh, what's that? And, whatever you do when you're reading to children. I don't have any children. I don't really know. But it changes the pacing quite a bit. And I think that really made the book. So if you're looking for a cryptid book that is appropriate for a youngster, there you go. Let's see. And she is an international best-selling author on Amazon. Glad to hear it. Let's see. Let's see. Even tough women can crack like eggs sometimes. That's a great title. That is a great title. Okay, so those are my 3 books. So Chupacabra Ate the Candelabra. And also, yeah, I did look it up. Apparently, English now allows for candelabra to be used as the singular instead of the plural. Well, as well as the plural. So instead of it, because my old-fashioned mind was going candelabrum, and apparently bicep is accepted as the singular for biceps, which is actually biceps, but anyway. So, but that was my first read for kicking off Winterween. which Gabby over at Gabby Reads does Winterween. So I read that. Let's see, that counted for read a book in the dark or at night. And so, of course, that one was really short, really quick. I was able to get through that on the 10th, on the day that the night that it kicked off. And let's see. So, if anyone else wants to talk about what they're reading, I'd love to hear about it. Let's see. But I'm also going to go ahead and look at genres for GenreLand. So GenreLand, what is GenreLand? So I will share my screen for just a little bit now. And we'll go over here to GenreLand. So this is a Goodreads group, and we've lost a lot of people who have abandoned Goodreads. So, but if you're still on Goodreads, check this out. It's if you just go to groups and search for GenreLand. There it is. It says GenreLand, and I really ought to put a picture up there, but I've not done that yet. It started off as an in-person book club to play. One of the local library employees said, hey, let's get a bunch of people together and play the library's annual reading game and, play it together. And so it's actually sort of like a BYO book or, I go to the Shelf Comfort book club. And so each month has a theme and everyone just picks a book on that theme. We're not all reading the same book. And then everyone just talks about their book. Or sometimes, there's like 2 books or so. And so every year, we did it that one year, and then the library did a different thing the next year, but we like this game. So it's like, oh, well, let's just pick our own genres. And the original game had rules like you get 1 free pass and things like that. And so we have these rules, but we don't actually pay any attention to them. It's like, yeah, whatever. We're just about reading books and having fun talking about them. But we did have some voting, and I was really late getting onto that. And so I finally, it's like, okay, January is snakes, because at the end of this month, I think the 29th, the lunar calendar changes to Year of the Snake. And so here we go. Lunar New Year is near the end of January. So everyone, just read a snaky book. Snakes on planes, snakes not on planes, whatever. And Cheryl's hoping there are snakes in River of Doubt, which I do not know. Not even familiar with River of Doubt, so I don't know what that is. So anyway, got snakes for January. And then, let's see, for foodie, including mysteries. So February is read a foodie book. And so Cheryl's already suggested a few things. I will be reading Quill Soup. And of course, probably something else. I have some cookbooks that are very, have a lot of story to them, a lot of writing. Last year I read Baking Yesteryear by B. Dylan Hollis. So that's a great one. I have several other cookbooks like that. I have one by Snoop Dogg. I guess I'm not reading that, given how things have been going lately. But let's see. So this genre tied with puzzles for the most votes. So puzzles is going to be, so we've got 10 spots left. And then dogs snagged 3rd place. So that leaves 8. Yeah. So we've got January, February, March, and April. So we've got 8 more months. Well, yeah, not necessarily March and April. I haven't put months to anything yet, except for January and February. And so we've got a 9-way tie for 8 categories, 8 months left. So let's see, go ahead and stop sharing. So I cut them out and I put them in my cute little coin purse here and shake them up really good. And so I'm going to pull out 8. And so only 8 can survive. And if you want to know what all 9 are, I did list there. Well, they're also listed in a closed thread on the GenreLand discussion board. And also in my community tab, I did have a picture of all 9 of them before I folded them up and put them in here. So the first one that is a winner is Author You've Been Afraid to Read. I have several of those. Was it LaRocca or something? I keep hearing all these horror fans keep talking about, I think, Eric LaRocca. And then I hear descriptions of them and I'm like, I don't think I can handle that. Okay, so here's the next one. Artificial intelligence. So that can be nonfiction or fiction. I know I've got a few nonfiction books about artificial intelligence I've been wanting to read. Yeah, I'm not a fan. But there's also some really interesting fiction, both pro and con. But okay, so third one, Team Luigi. It could be about Mario Kart or another Luigi that you may, yeah. So yeah, there will probably be some discussion about what you could do with Team Luigi. Number 4 is longest on your TBR. Now, it's fun because you can interpret that several different ways. I mean, longest on your TBR could be the longest amount of time on your TBR. Could be something you've been meaning to get to forever, but you just haven't. Or it could be the longest book on your TBR, and you get to decide whether it's like your TBR for the week, your TBR for the month, whatever. Or maybe even like just your Libro FM TBR or your TBR from the library. Okay. Oh, so yeah, it could be the longest wait you've had. I think I've got one on Libby that said several months. They're not even estimating how many weeks. I'm like, okay, all right. Next up, we have mountains, and that would include mountain climbing, because I know there was somebody in the group who was really wanting to read something about mountain climbing. So that would work for that. So we've got 5 now. We need 3 more. But yeah, it could be set in the mountains. It could just have like mountains on the cover. But yeah, a lot of local authors here like to set things in the mountains, so that's pretty easy. Classic mystery, and this time there are no like dates, so you can kind of use your own judgment as to what classic means. But yeah, so it could be golden age, could be something Victorian, because the Victorians were really getting mysterious and gothic and everything. Okay, 6. Here's number 7. Outer Space. So again, nonfiction or fiction. Orbital just won the Booker. I liked it. I've heard lots of really differing views on Orbital. Can't remember the author's name right now. And that's 24 hours in the life of the International Space Station. It is considered science fiction because it is set in the near future. Well, it was supposed to be set during the last cycle of the last month or so of the space station's life, because they were planning to basically knock it out of the sky. A month ago, a while back, but then they had to extend it. So, all right, we've got one more left to draw, and this is Asian authors. So Asian American, Asian, so they don't have to be like living in Asia or born in Asia, but if they are Asian. So those are 8. So what didn't make it? It was Gothic. I'm going to read Gothic anyway, but that's just me. But if you didn't want to read Gothic, hey, you're in luck. You don't have to read Gothic for GenreLand. But yeah, the GenreLand is open to the public, or the Goodreads membership. You don't have to you don't have to like fill out a questionnaire or anything. I don't think I said anything like that. My voice is giving out. So yeah, my last little segment here will have to be very, very short. I don't know why my voice gives out so quickly anymore, but yeah, you're very welcome to join GenreLand. I have considered moving it to and what did I just do? I just changed something and I don't know what. Okay, that was weird. It just like tried to go full screen on me, and I'm like, I don't want it full screen. So yeah, now the serious part. So I'm kind of glad my voice is going. But yeah, I do have some thoughts on the whole Neil Gaiman thing. So Neil Gaiman, all right, this actually kind of came to my attention with that initial podcast. I didn't listen to the initial podcast when it was aired because I'd never heard of it, but I started hearing shortly thereafter, like within a few days, started hearing some buzz about there's these allegations against Neil Gaiman. Do we trust this podcast? What do we know about this source? What do we know about these people saying these things? And so it was kind of interesting. And I was really downhearted because I'm like, no, please say it isn't so. Neil Gaiman used to be one of my favorite authors. And that's, no secret of that, because if you know me very well at all, I've been a big fan ever since I read Neverwhere, decades ago. And I've read a lot of his stuff since and really enjoyed it. And right before these allegations came out on that original podcast, I had just bought the illustrated version of Neverwhere. for a book club. And I tried to read it for the book club, and I couldn't manage it. Even though I think we managed the discussion, consciously avoided talk of the allegations, because because a lot of the people had never heard of Gaiman, or had never read any of his work. So it's like, let's just see, let them enjoy it. And so then you get into the whole separate the art from the artist thing. And so I guess there was sort of an attempt in the book club to kind of try. And also I was in another book club that was reading Norse mythology, and which was by Gaiman. And yeah, it's just like, okay, we didn't know these allegations when we set these books for these book clubs, so let's just get through this, all right? And at that time, we really didn't know much we didn't know any details, but of course, several days ago, we got details, and more women coming forward with more allegations that sound a lot alike. And could this be a conspiracy? Maybe. And innocent until proven guilty, but that's a legal standard, and we could be talking about multiple jurisdictions, from what I understand. I mean, I don't know what the laws are in New Zealand or the UK. I know what the laws are in New Mexico and Colorado, because I've worked in sheriff's offices in both places. So, but I don't know what they are I don't know what state Gaiman lives in the US. Assuming he still does. I have not kept up with his private life, obviously. And so I have to take it on, well, do I believe these women? And, then there's the believe all women. I can't do that. That implies that women are inherently more honest, or at least honest in a way that men aren't. And I don't think of honesty as a gendered thing. So I can't do the believe all women, but I can apply critical thinking skills to the evidence presented to me. Now, it is all anecdotal evidence. That's all I have to go on. Do I believe these women? I believe so. I think so. It just seems to me, but of course that carries no legal weight anywhere. So I can say that. And I can still say, these allegations, do I believe these women's allegations? Yeah. Even if they are not entirely accurate, because the human brain is really kind of lousy at giving eyewitness testimony. It's just the human brain just sucks at that. So accuracy, yeah, that's everyone's perspective is a little bit different, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. But I think it's, the preponderance of anecdotal evidence is over here, and Gaiman's response has not been great. And also at about this time, I started, because I go to a lot of cons, or at least in the past, I've gone to a lot of science fiction conventions and, science fiction fantasy conventions and mystery conventions and things like that. And so I'm sort of on the edges of this world. And I mean, I can say, oh, well, he never did that to me. He never approached me like that. It's like, I'm not in his target demographic. Just not. So of course he's not gonna let me know what he's really like. I have met him, but it was a very brief meeting, and if my voice had more time, I would tell you all about the wonderful line the best line ever. But my voice will not last for that. But there are people out there who know exactly what I'm talking about, and that's part of why, and I guess this is kind of my point here, why I can't tell anyone what to do or what to believe. Um, that's something you're just gonna have to do on your own. Um, I mean, you can find all sorts of content on YouTube. The article that I mentioned, which I still have not read in its entirety because it's really hard to get through. There's a lot. I mean, check trigger warnings or whatever because it's a lot and it's really graphic and it's very detailed. And I was trying to go through it a bit at a time, and then apparently it used up my free articles and it's behind a paywall. So I don't know, maybe it'll let me, it'll refresh and I can look at it again. But that was, let's see. Yeah, that was quite, let's see, I was going to say, oh, yeah, combat veteran. Yeah, I was talking about Colorado and mountains. Yeah, it's, there's a lot to love here. This is by far the favorite place I've lived, and I'm happy to stay here. There's a lot that I don't think I could live without that's here. We'll probably have to eventually move where there's water. Yeah, Colorado water is a big thing. So, and Army for 10 years. Yeah. So, yeah, if you, um, yeah, you know about, how, you have to know a lot about law to, military law. And that's, you know what you know, but yeah, I don't know what New Zealand's laws are. And I did watch a video several months ago, and somebody breaking down what jurisdictions might be involved and what the laws would apply there. And um, yeah, it's a lot. Oh, Fort Carson. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, there's and and some of it, the different ages are involved, and some, the thresholds for guilt are different. And I'm just like, wow, this is a whole big can of worms. But then you have to go, well, do I care about the legal aspects? Because now I know, I just, I kind of know in my heart that whatever the truth about these allegations, whatever is the truth about what happened, what he's done, um, it's, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's, what matters is how I feel about him. And this is not what I feel like he was not presenting himself honestly. And I mean, everyone has sort of a mask, a way they present themselves professionally and whatnot. But then there's out and out deception. Um, and I feel like he was very deceptive. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. In fact, I learned that in these convention circles that I am sort of on the edges of, that there's a whisper network, and there has been for years, about him and about like cautioning young women. It's like, be careful with him. And and I'm yeah, it's sort of like when, the Me Too thing and all of these whisper networks were coming forward and saying, "Oh yeah, we're a whisper network. We've been around forever." And uh yeah, yeah, we knew this all this time. And it's like, well, of course it's going to be difficult to come forward and make, it's like, and these women are being, it's like, oh, they're just wanting attention. It's like, well, what kind of attention are they getting? What did they expect? Yeah, they knew that this was going to be a hard road. um so it's, so there's just, I know. And then I'm thinking back on, and I'll just share one little screen thing again. And some of you may remember that I read, I don't know, was it last year, the year before, Snow Glass Apples by Neil Gaiman, illustrated by Colleen Dorrant. This, I gave it 2 stars, mainly because the artwork was so freaking gorgeous. Okay, so the Vulture article, it brought up things I had no idea about, like the Scientology angle. Did not know anything about that. And I, when people were talking about some of the Scientology stuff, I was like, ooh, that explains some of the stuff in Snow Glass Apples, which is a Snow White retelling. A not so evil queen is terrified of her monstrous stepdaughter and determined to repel this creature and save her kingdom from a world where happy endings aren't so happily ever after. And it is horror. It is very horrific, graphically horrific. But there's also a lot of stuff that makes me go, oh, well, that makes sense in light of the Scientology. And I'm getting this from the Vulture article. People talking about Scientology in light of the Vulture article. Scientology teaching or belief that children are adults in small bodies. And there's a lot of ew in this book, this graphic novel. And it was ew when I read it, and now I'm just like, oh God, I am, yeah. But I can't change it to a 1 star, even if I wanted to, because Goodreads has apparently been having a lot of unusual activity on Neil Gaiman reviews, and so they have temporarily suspended ratings on Neil Gaiman stuff. Or at least I've been told. Someone told me that they had been given a that they'd been given a little, thing. No, you can't rate this book because there's been a suspicious pattern of activity or something, unusual pattern. Because I'm sure a lot of people have been going back through and reevaluating what they think of Neil Gaiman. So I can't tell you what to believe, and I also can't tell you what to do with any of your Neil Gaiman stuff. There are people saying, "Oh, well, you obviously aren't sympathetic with these women if you're keeping his stuff or reading his stuff." I mean, I'm determined not to give the man any more money, but I just bought this, and I bought it for the illustrations by another person. A lot of his projects, they're not just Neil Gaiman projects. There are other people. There are producers, there are directors, there are actors, there are gaffers and best boys and whatever. You know, television production or movie production is there are so many other people involved in that, that it's not just, yeah, a Gaiman thing. So, and that's sort of where I was with Joss Whedon. Uh, yeah, and I mean, for a lot of people, this, uh, their Sandman collection represents a huge financial investment. So, yeah, I can't tell someone, oh, well, I'm not going to tell anyone to go burn anything because, yeah, oh gosh, fires in LA. Yeah, that just hurts my heart. So fire tornadoes. That's a whole nother thing. And yeah. Um, but and to me, the sign, I was in that signing line, and that was such a great experience for so many people. And I mean, you're like, it's a line, it's a signing line, but no, it was something special. All these Neil Gaiman fans gathered to, yeah, and we just bonded, and it was great. And so the signed items that I have from that day or night, yeah, it's like Brian and Mark showed up later, and I think I went and picked them up at about 2 in the morning from that signing. Um, but it's those things are very special to me. Uh, let's see. Oh, combat says something, but I'll come back to combat. How many hours long was the signing line? Okay. Apparently he started signing at about 2. I left work early. So I got there about noon, and the line was already back in the alley. So I was like, in the alley um with a bunch of friends and new friends, people I just met. It's like, oh hey, we're friends now. Um and that was actually a really good vantage point. I have a photo that I took of him, like, walking and getting out of his vehicle and being escorted into the store, and him just looking at the line and going, oh my God. And at that point, the line was down the alley and around the corner, and eventually it wound around the block. And but from friends who worked in the bookstore, I guess it was after 2 in the morning when he was like, dipping his hand in an ice bucket. So my impression of him was, wow, he really, he goes all out for his fans. He's, signing books for, I mean, gosh, that was, yeah. So from 2 to, yeah, for 12 hours. I mean, I'm sure they gave him bathroom breaks and stuff, but oh my God. Um, so yeah, so I have signed books that are very, very special to me. Not just because they're signed by Neil Gaiman, but because of that whole experience. And so I don't think anyone should have that taken away from them. So my main point is, I'm not going to tell anyone what to do, but kind of think about it, and just what do you feel in your heart is best for you, and to process this, because it's hard when someone um you really appreciate turns out to be not worthy of it. And how many states were represented in the line? I don't know. There was Wyoming, Oklahoma. I think there were even some people from Kansas City, so either Kansas or Missouri. So yeah, yeah, it was, and we got compliments. The people, the other businesses in the area were like talking to the owner of the bookstore or the bookstore staff and saying, "Oh, your people are so well behaved." That was the best line. And yeah, and we'd watch out for each other, and it's like, "Oh, hey, you want to go grab something to eat? There's a restaurant right there." It was nice. And yeah, I'll never forget it, and that will never not be special. So, or never not. Yeah, never not be special. Did I say that right? Okay. So so that's, yeah, my voice is really going now. So come back here. Let's see. Where'd it go? There it is. So, combat veteran Sarah Cannon is a wonderful author as well. Okay. I will definitely take a look at Sarah Cannon. And I've already got Diane Marasco marked. So, yeah. But yeah, my voice is going. I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me, and keeping me company in the chat. And yeah, anyone watching this on replay, you're welcome to comment. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, and if you want to know more about the whole Gaiman thing, all you have to do is Google it, put it in a search bar. You'll get tons of stuff. You'll probably even see some people defending Neil Gaiman, and that's their right, I suppose. I mean, you believe, you just look into your heart and see what works for you. But yeah, somehow some defenders made it into my filter bubble, and I don't know how that happened, but but I'm sure Bill Bishop would say that's a good thing, that I'm being exposed to people I don't agree with. But yeah, thank you, and good night. Talk at you later.